And welcome to the Star Wars Reporter podcast. Jason couldn't have said it better myself. If there's a Star Wars version, I guess it's Yoda ears. Throw up the Yoda ears.
Yeah, perfect. Right, I like that.
Trademark until Disney sues me. I am one of your fine fellow hosts, Wookie Steve.
Is that a
And I
mug?
am joined. Yeah, it's a mug. You put coffee in it. The only problem is when you drink it, you get a lot of hair in your mouth, but it's the price you pay.
With the filter.
It's the filter. Yes, it is.
Fantastic.
Welcome to the show, episode 63 of the Star Wars Reporter podcast. I am joined today by my lovely assistant hosts, starting with the lovely
Hello.
Todd.
Isn't he
Super Todd.
lovely?
Welcome to the show, everyone. We have a great show lined up for y'all. Right, Steve?
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Yeah.
I think we'll change your name to Goomba Todd. Or like
Goomba Todd. That'd be
Goodfellas.
good. Yeah. Goomba.
Okay. Goomba. And of course, the lucky to be here.
Always. It's it's funny hearing you guys with the forget about it. Like, I'm the New Yorker. These guys are Canadians. Canadians. I'm
What are
the
you
native
saying, eh?
New Yorker, man. So I'm so, yeah, there you go. I'm supposed
What are
to
you talking
forget about
about? What are you talking about?
You're
Hey?
talking to boot us.
Hey, yo. Yeah, no, tonight's gonna be interesting. There is some cool stuff. I have a couple gripes. Gripes for Star Wars. Now, we always try to keep this, we're a positive stream overall. But I got a couple things to whine about. But there's also some good stuff though too. There's some good stuff too.
Well, I can't wait.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
I'm feeling all aflustered by the theory coming from
no,
Florida.
there's nothing horrible, man. But
That's okay.
we'll
Let
see.
it
We'll
loose.
discuss. We'll discuss.
We'll chat.
But before we get started, just want to make sure everyone knows about our social media, which is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, if you could smash, as the kids say, the like button on here and follow us, that would be swell. And of course, for all the latest news, StarWarsReporter.com.
I should
Does
probably read our latest news.
Does the word swell date us too much, Steve? Possibly? Swell. I don't think kids use the word swell anymore.
I think that would date
swell.
our parents, actually.
Probably.
Well, darn tootin', they don't know what they're missing.
That's
Well,
right.
Gee whiz.
Is there an urban dictionary for dumb talk?
There should be. If there's not,
Is that
I'm
just-
sure there is. I'm not only a member, I'm the president of that.
So I guess we're going to have some stuff to talk about today. Of course, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of the Bad Batch, Common Ground. Also, the new information on the upcoming show, Star Wars Visions, which looks pretty cool. It's an anime anthology, much like the Animatrix was. So some pretty good news. Disney's really, I think, putting a lot into this, and it feels like they're kind of leaving it in hands of these Japanese anime studios. So fingers crossed on that. And any other news or gripes, as Jason says, that might come up during the talk. So hey, let's just get into it, guys. So let's start at the Bad Batch and go from there. Oh wait, we were going to do a little bit of show and tell. I thought we were going to.
I totally didn't prepare. I'm so sorry, guys. I was making supper for the kids.
You have to,
You're
though. We got to
parenting.
see that item that you have, though, man.
Well, we can do that. We can do that another time or later, whenever you're ready. Forget about it.
Forget about that.
Hey, forget about it.
I know. Hey, you should be doing
I'm from
that.
New York, and I don't even do a good New York, which is funny. But
Todd and I should be doing like Bob and Doug right now. So
Bob and Doug McKenzie, absolutely. Does
Yeah.
Jason even know who Bob and Doug McKenzie is?
oh yes, I do. And
I'm
the reason now I am you guys have my favorite band in the universe. I am a Rush fanatic, like a total Rush fanatic. I've seen them 800 million times. And of course, Getty famously did the Take Off song and video with Bob and Doug McKenzie. So
there you go.
right.
Yes, I am very familiar with them and their beer and everything. Yes.
Have you seen them? Have you seen my son? Okay, this is the movie
Brew.
Strange Brew. Yes, my son just saw it last year, and they didn't know anything about it, and they watched it and they all loved it. They thought it was amazing, one of the best comedies they've ever watched ever. It stands the test of time. This is my kids who were like 19 last year, and they thought it was hilarious. If you haven't seen
awesome.
Strange Brew, it's a Canadian treasure. You got to watch Strange Brew.
It's like apparently it's how Americans first learn about Canadians, right?
Yes.
So it's the first thing I'm asked by people that I just meet in the U.S. They're like, "Oh, have you seen Strange Brew?" And I have to remind them that in Canada, it's mandatory to learn about Bob and Doug McKenzie in school, right before math and English and stuff.
You can't get assistantship unless you know who Bob and Doug McKenzie is. Yes,
that's right.
Take off,
It's that's literally true though. That really was kind of the first like pure Canadian saying that I was aware of, that, and then Rush.
All right,
and then,
well, there
and then,
Rush.
But yeah, no,
there you
absolutely.
go. That and Wayne Gretzky, right?
Then of course, and Gretzky. Right,
now there's getting more. There's Jim Carrey now, and there's Ryan Reynolds now. You know, we're making our stamp on the world now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have. There's Canadians that are hidden you don't even know about.
And oh my goodness, but isn't Captain Kirk, isn't Chris Pine, is he Canadian?
Not Chris Pine.
The original one.
Oh no,
William Shatner's Canadian. William Shatner's Canadian. Yes.
I have a funny story. William Shatner was kind of joking around with Mark Hamill on Twitter, and I made some kind of comment to William Shatner, and he actually responded to me, and he's like, not to what I said, but to the name of Star Wars Reporter. He's like, Star Wars Reporter? Isn't this from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away? Shouldn't it be Star Wars historian or something like this? I forget what he said. I thought that was pretty funny. So, and that was within seconds of me sending that to him. So.
Well, that's the kind of clout, the kind of pull that we have here.
Well, absolutely.
Star Wars Reporter speaks, Shatner answers.
That's right. Whether he's just, he's shatting on us.
Well, Captain Kirk takes notice of important things, right? So there you go.
Exactly. Nanu.
That's a totally different universe, isn't it?
I know. I'm going to make a whole lot of nerds angry. So, okay. So, well, then let's just go back to starting with talking about Common Ground, episode 10. So, what do you guys? Who wants to start?
Okay, to me, okay, go ahead, Steve. To me, it was another great episode. I love the fact that we went back to the Empire, showing the Empire kind of start doing their thing, how they're filtering out through the galaxy, sort of thing, and pushing their thumb down on people, sort of throw their thumb down on people, right, sort of thing. Is really interesting take about a separatist system, obviously, right, from the Clone Wars, who was on the bad side of our heroes. We're being stepped. We're being stepped on by the Empire, and obviously, it's just showing that this Empire might not be a good thing for the galaxy. I just like how there's a great start to it, I thought.
Yeah, they were kind of on the planet, and you can see how the Empire is trying to ingratiate themselves, right? Make them seem like they're really nice guys. Like the scene I thought was really cool was this here, where the representative from the Empire is trying to sell, like, oh, everything's going to be great now. Don't worry about it, everyone. And it was interesting because in the crowd, you see some people kind of like clapping, and a lot of people like, nah, get out of here. And it kind of felt like a time in history where, tyrants were making people, they actually get this guy here, one of these, the leader, to try to tell his people, everything's great. No one revolt. It's all good. And do you know what's funny? I found myself, I wrote a note because, he gets up there and then he has that overwhelming, I can't do this to my people. Like, the Empire is bad, and gives that, gets taken away. And I'm writing to myself, he should have played along and fought secretly. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. He should have just said what he had to say, smiled, and then
but the thing is, he couldn't live with it. Like, he wanted to be honest with his people, right, with his subjects,
Right.
with his citizens, and this, like, he didn't want to sugarcoat things, and he just. I like the fact that his principles, he could not say what they were telling him to say, and
Right.
he made a stance, sort of thing, right? And then of course, that inspires the people, right? To, what's the first thing they did, right? Was they started pushing back against the stormtroopers, and what happens then? Stormtrooper brings in the big guns, right? The big tanks come in and disperses the crowd, right? Again, they're not there to help; they're there for fear and intimidation. That's all they are.
Right, for sure.
They're bad guys, really good bad guys.
They're bad guys. They're just bad guys.
They're just bad guys.
Yeah, I thought that was that was cool, the beginning, because we were just talking about that. I remember we were talking about it last time, and and I was even saying how I wanted to see like the Empire, take form and start to. So we saw a little bit of that at the beginning of this episode, like exactly what we were saying.
I think that's it. Go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead, man.
I was just saying that's exactly it. Like, we were talking about it, we like almost like it felt like time to bring that back, and they brought it back again. This is one system. What's happening across the galaxy, right? Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, no, exactly. Though I was thinking that immediately. I'm like, wow, we were just saying it would like be cool to see that. Now this is something. This episode is one that I overall though I was like, I felt like this was almost the way the Clone Wars kind of did how would you say, like a just an A to B kind of filler episode to me, in that it felt so familiar, like the Clone Wars, where you'd get Anakin or Obi-Wan would take a squad of clone troopers and they'd go down to a planet and they'd rescue like a senator or something. Right. And there'd be a little confrontation and then they'd take off. And I'm like, I just felt like, I'm like, this is kind of exactly a paint by numbers Clone Wars filler episode. We saw a little bit of that, like we said, with the Imperials in the very beginning, and I liked that. So I mean, I didn't hate the episode, but to me, this was kind of, it was kind of filler to me. I'm like,
I do see your point, what you're saying there, Jason, where if there's a filler, we were talking about how also last week that there hasn't been any real filler episodes. I'd say this is definitely one leans more towards that for sure. It was just, to me, it was nice to see stormtroopers, and it was nice to see the Empire kind of flexing their muscles, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing with all of this stuff. It's like, it's fun to just be in the Star Wars universe, and we get stormtroopers and we got those walkers, and it's still cool, and I think, how we are collectively, as fans, like, we just enjoy all of this stuff, really. So, but overall, I was like, I'm like, I've actually felt like that for a lot of the shows. Like, they kind of start to dip into some filler material for me, but then usually they lift back up. Because even Mandalorian, even now, as awesome as Mandalorian is, even that first season, there was a couple episodes where I was starting to feel like, this is a side quest, let's get going. As a fan, I'm like, not everybody's like this. I'm kind of hardline. Like, I want the main stuff.
Storyline. Yeah.
And maybe the movies, growing up with the movies has spoiled me with that, because it's all the biggest, most epic confrontations. So for some of these shows, I admittedly get like a little impatient, where I'm like, all right, let's bring it on, man. Like, I'm like, like last week we had, the Bane and Fennec confrontation. Now we've got two opposing bounty hunters going after Omega, from two different sides from the same place, Camino. So that was really intriguing to me. And I get it. I mean, almost all shows, not just Star Wars, whatever, are like this, where in a long season and a long series of many seasons, they kind of rise and fall. But I'm spoiled with Star Wars, so I'm like, I don't want that fallback. I want let's go. Let's get to it. So I felt like this episode, and I think for me, I mean, I've had a couple semi duds in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and actually the one at Todd, when it was just Steve and I were talking on the one where they resolved like the clone, the Order 66 with the implants and all that. I thought that episode was a little bit of a cop out, and like that could have happened under better, like more drama that could have been in major battle when Wrecker went nuts. It was kind of convenient that they were on this remote place and nothing else was going on. I thought that kind of like took care of that kind of easy. So I think the Bad Batch, like, and again, it's beautifully done. You know, it's fun. I'm still thumbs up, you know, but I'm like, all right, it's kind of meandering around a little bit for me. I'm like, let's get going, because are we concentrating solely on, is Omega supposed to be the driving force? Is it the clones? Are these guys escaping the Empire? Like, what's the main thrust of
I think they're
story?
actually when the series first started, I kind of thought, is it going to be all Omega? Is it going to be all the clones? Like what's going on? And it seems like they have it's almost kind of a split between the two, and maybe that's why you're getting a feel of, you know, it's not progressing in a story. Like, find the focus and then move towards it. I eventually think the show is going to turn into the destiny of Omega, because they're dropping all these little hints, right? Like, she's obviously not just a 10-year-old. She's, right, you know, a 10-year-old clone. I kind of think, you know, I see exactly where you're going, right? They need to, like, when we talked about that, when Wrecker kind of, you know, fell to his chip, like, I was thinking, man, I just want him to go a little more crazy. I want him to then maybe join back up with Crosshair to be like, yeah, these guys are traitors at first, right? If not permanently, because in the end, probably none of these guys are going to live, right? Like, like,
it could have been more perilous, you know, for the group and for the story. I thought that was a little bit of an easy way out.
For sure.
John, there's a new comment here where John, if you want to put that other Steve, he didn't think it was a filler episode. I'm kind of like, I see what you're saying, Jason, but I didn't think that there was still character development with the main characters, because I don't want to help that separatist trash, right? And then they learned that, you know what? There's no more separatists. There's no more the Senate sort of thing. That this is new, and the fact that the Empire is now the bad guys. And so even like this interesting thing was the fact that, I don't know if you guys noticed all episode, the Bad Batch were only using stun guns the whole entire time.
Yes.
And I was like, why are they stunning everybody? I'm going, because those are probably clone soldiers, so they're brothers. So that's why. There's a separation happening, and so it was very subtle. But I still think there was a bit of development there, not as big, impactful as other episodes. But that's why it's called On Common Ground, because obviously the separatist leader, this system, they're finding common ground with him now, right? Before the enemy, I don't want to help these people. They're traitors. They're going to turn on us, and all of a sudden, oh no, we're actually fighting the same enemy now, right? So my enemy is now my friend, sort of thing. And so it was a nice little twist on things. See, there, enemy of my enemy is my friend. There you go. See,
right.
So that's what I liked about the thing. Again, it wasn't huge. It's very subtle. It wasn't until today until I figured out that I couldn't figure out why they kept stunning everybody. But it makes sense that now those are clone troopers still in action, taking orders like good soldiers do, right?
I thought the same thing, because it's that sound, right? Like, you know, you're watching, too, right? Yeah, it's that sound of the stun. I'm like, wait a minute, because like they're still coping with this new reality of their own life. You know, right? Because they're still like trying to be this father figures or uncles, whatever you want to call them, to Omega, and all they've known their entire life is to be a soldier, right? And they were on the side of the Empire. Now they find themselves, you know, accidentally or whatever on the other side of people that they were fighting for and growing up with this entire time. And you know, I think they are doing it kind of subtly, but I think they have so that they need to do a lot. And really, if you think about the Bad Batch, they really have only focused on two of the Bad Batch, really, Hunter and Wrecker. And Wrecker, it's because he's kind of like the same mentality as a 10-year-old, and he's like a different kind of, he would be like the uncle, right? The crazy uncle helping to raise her. Hunter's the father, and everyone, you know, Crosshair would be the uncle that lost his mind. But I see that they're developing it that way.
Did you notice that in this episode? Remember they're eating trail mix, or Mary Recker's asking how the trail mix tastes, and she said as good, better than ever, sort of thing. When they got to the point where they stopped, sorry, the half android one, the half cyborg one, his name's Static. Sorry, help me remember his name. I know it's Echo.
Echo.
Yes.
Echo. I thought Echo was the guy with the glasses.
Or
was Tech. He's Tech. Right? Sorry, yeah. So anyway, I don't know if you noticed, he was actually smelling the trail mix. Like he didn't taste it, but he was smelling it. So he's like almost like he's becoming more human, less soldier sort of thing. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It was a little thing where he kind of broke character, like trying to take an interest in what they were eating sort of thing, which he's never done before. I don't know if you guys noticed that. If you watch it back, you'll see it.
That's a good point. And I never noticed that. It's a good point because I made a note, and it was kind of in the beginning. It was after a mission. They're having their snack. And they've done this before. And I just remember going, the after mission treat is getting old now. But it played a part. I think maybe it is subtle. Maybe Filoni's crew is kind of like subtly putting in these little things. Like Tech is, sniffing. Like they're starting to not think just like soldiers, but they're thinking
they're humanizing or
exactly
whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know exactly. Whatever, they're becoming more normal, like a human being, living being, not soldiers. Yes, exactly. Like you could see, like we said, Hunter, Wrecker, totally involved with Omega, but the other two are starting to come around slowly. And I think we're going to see an episode with these guys as we move forward.
No, that's some great points, and that's actually even turns my thinking a little bit, though. I mean, Todd, what you said, and even John there, commented, and I totally agree about that. Definitely. I thought that was great because we talked about that last week with the Empire starting to push forward. That's something that I wanted to see. So I just thought like the mission and all that in itself was kind of like whatever. But what you guys are talking about is really good points though, because subtly, and I did notice that with the when they stunned everybody, only because that's another thing that this show's doing really well, and they've done really well with actually, it's such an iconic sound, not the kill setting, but the stun setting.
The stun.
And there was another sneaky little sound too. When the walker went down, it made that sound, and from the Empire Strikes Back, when the walker kind of fell, it was like
fell over.
So I'm like, they nail it with that stuff. I mean, it's definitely very well done.
I thought it was interesting. It was this episode when they stunned some of the clone soldiers in the walkers. Did they throw them out the side?
Oh, Wrecker threw them out. He's like, they're gonna feel that in the morning.
Good thing you stunned them. I guess you threw them from a high walker. They could have fell on their head and crushed their skull. But, at least they're stunned.
I love that. Speaking of when the action like this, when the walkers came into play, that was so cool, right? That's so the prequels or Clone Wars, I guess, if you want. And when they got into the battle, I'm kind of going ahead, but the whole scene with the battles with the walkers was so cool, right?
Yeah.
And again, it didn't seem like they were trying to the batch weren't trying to lethally hurt anyone either, right?
It was weird because it again didn't sink in right away at first. I couldn't understand because then, I guess it'd be hard to kill their brothers. Again, think they're on the same side. Then I think by the end of the episode, they're learning that they're not really, like we said, on the same side anymore. So,
no, that was interesting too. Just that this was a separatist planet because, and that was interesting. Like I said, to me, the whole very beginning of it, was the most interesting of all of it for me, but that was interesting because if I'm not mistaken too, that was a separatist world where I don't know if we've seen, I can't recall if we've seen a world. I think in a Clone Wars, but it was mentioned somewhere. I think even Count Dooku had meetings there.
Right. And I think it was in Clone Wars. I think it was in Clone Wars for sure. Now, Filoni and those guys, they're really good with all the kind of little cookies or Easter eggs or whatever you want to call them. But when they catch that senator and they're going to torture him, that little torture droid, I don't know what you want to call it, came in, from like
Dr. Needle kind of droid. Yeah.
The Dr. Needles. That was good. Just like with Princess Leia and stuff like that, and the sound and everything. And I don't know, this episode, for some reason, the sounds in this episode were really appealing to me, right? It's like they stun the walkers. This I don't know, I call them torture droid. I thought was really a cool scene, right? And it just seems like, I wonder if we're going to see this guy in the future, this Avi Singh, if he's going to be something in the future, right? Or he could just be a character they saved and on his way. Yeah.
Who knows, right? There's many opportunities they can bring him back. You know, like John said before, like give the vibes of the beginning of a rebellion, right? It's a good chance now that he's already spoken up against the Empire that he would be joining forces with a rebel alliance as it forms, right? So there's possibilities for anything. One thing we've noticed with Filoni and team, they bring characters back, right? So
yeah, for sure.
You know, they've done it. They brought characters into Mandalorian. They brought characters from Clone Wars into Bad Batch. Why would they stop now?
Yeah, that's right, Jeremy. They nailed the sound of the torture droid. I don't know if that's his name. I should look.
We should figure out what it is. I'll try. I'll look it up there, guys, as you guys keep talking. I'll see if I can find out.
Because the torture droid could come across as something else, and
that is interesting. This episode, though, that like all of us and everybody in the comments and we three all noticed the sound was a lot of throwback sound effects. You know, the stun guns and the walkers and everything, and then the droid.
Oh, wait, guys! I figure it's called the ITO interrogator droid.
The interrogator droid.
Interrogator, torture, whatever.
They give it like a little shot of needles. I think of some truth serum, possibly. That get you to speak and talk freely, right? So
that's right. That's right. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but at the end when they save the senator and he's kind of being loaded on, to go with whatever. Or they're trying to get him onto the ship to leave the planet. And what happened between Hunter and the senator was kind of like a Padme Qui-Gon moment from episode 1, where they're going up to the ship and he's like, he's hesitant to get on. And his droid's like, come on, let's go. And he's like, I can't leave my people. And I'm like, this is Padme, right? Or Amidala at the time. And then it was Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon that said, live to fight another day. And that's what Hunter said to him. And then so he gets on the ship and leaves. And Amidala did the same thing. She's like, okay, right? Instead of, live to fight another day. Right now, let's just escape. So I don't know if that was done purposely.
Oh, I guarantee it's purposely. Because, again, what better way to show a separatist is now on the side of the right, or not that is right or wrong, because it's war is a really funny thing, but it's all a certain point of view. But here you go, where it really shows that this person who may have been seen as the enemy is not the enemy anymore, right? Again, again, subtle, but there was some character development sort of thing. Where even Hunter, who's didn't want to help a separatist in the beginning. Remember when Sid gave him the mission? That separatist, I don't want to help these people, right? They can burn in hell, right? And all of a sudden, now he says, you know what? You got to go live, fight another day. So again, there's a bit of development there.
He's doing his thing. Also, too, I just noticed too, and I made the note, and I'm like, the bats don't seem really fond of droids because when they kind of come across, it turns out the client is the senator's droid.
Oh right.
And it's really funny, obviously, because that's who they were fighting. So I wonder if that's ingrained in them, like.
Well, I imagine you were just in a war for how many years? I don't know how long they were involved in the war, and all you do is you fought clunkers and clankers, and also now you now have to take orders from a droid. Yeah, I can see how they have a problem with that, right? They had a problem rescuing. There's many things. They had to rescue a separatist. Now they had to follow a droid. Can you trust? They couldn't trust they had problems. Can they trust the droid?
Right.
There was a lot of things.
I wonder if they were spotted by the Empire. Did we see that at all? I'm just curious. Like, were they? Because the Empire's kind of they saw them on the planet of the Scrappy.
Yes, they do know that. Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if they're going to be tracking them or any kind of pattern now.
I think this senator here, or this. I don't know what rank she is, but I think that they saw them on camera, kind of rescuing them.
And some of the people stunned. Again, they stunned the stormtroopers. The clone troopers. They didn't kill them, so they would have noticed them and saw them, and they'd probably know who they are, right? So
Right.
I imagine there'd be a report going back somewhere to the Empire saying, "Hey, this Bad Batch, we have to take care of these guys."
If they were, I mean, they've been wanted before, so you got to think. I mean, they're gonna be at the top shelf in the galaxy soon. The way they're going with the Empire.
Not just the Empire, but everybody. They have a product that people want. Two bounty hunters are after. There's a lot of people after them. There's like a Mexican standoff now. There's three different fractions after Omega
Right.
and them, right? So yeah,
they're gonna have a tough time navigating throughout the galaxy, which good. I should bring some drama, be interesting, but in the future, like more and more, everywhere they go, they're gonna be wanted on a lot of billboards out there.
And I think there's been another seed
Right.
planted. I want to go back to Sid. I think there's another seed planted about Sid too, because he said, "I don't trust you." Like she said, you can't really, you shouldn't trust me, right? Like the whole thing, like that seed was planted that episode too. Like we talked about Sid before. She seemed like a great person, but again, can we trust her?
See, that's what I said. I said I have more notes. I'm like, Sid and Omega, the bonding, or is she causing trouble, right, for them, right, trying to divide the Bad Batch and Omega. It seemed like in the beginning where she says, you're not going on the mission with him because you're kind of useless.
Yeah, you're useless in a problem. Yeah,
you're useless in a problem, stuff like that. And then when she's gone, she's using her. Like, I've always said that I don't trust Sid. And then what do you guys think of the whole it's not chess, but the Star Wars chess?
She's amazing strategist.
This whole thing, right? This whole thing, right? You see the look. So I know that they're letting people know, look, there's
something about her.
Right. We were just thinking that they were kind of chilling out with that. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Omega's kind of all right. She's kind of fallen back a little. She's just a kid still. And then suddenly she's prominently very serious and very awesome in this episode.
And is she good at strategy because she can see what's going on in the future, like have some, see the future? Because remember Crosshairs? She predicted Crosshairs was going to turn on them back in the jail cell. Remember, so is she good at strategy because she can see what people are going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like again, that opens up a can of worms. Is she force sensitive too? Right.
You're right. And we thought that the first 4 or 5 episodes we talked about that, and they kind of reeled that back in, and then suddenly here, like what she's pulling off, and they show there's a crowd around them, and that one guy, kind of got the impression he was experienced at this game. Here's the top dog, in the area, and and he just grumbles because she beats the crap out of him. So it's like, okay, this is beyond just she's pretty good at it. Like, no, this is like some serious ability beyond her years. So it does raise those questions again. Like, okay.
Well, if you're beating nobodies in this game, no one's going to come. If you're beating somebody, that's going to draw a crowd, right? It's just
right. And Hunter at the end, where you don't see how the match goes, but he sits down to challenge her, and of course, but he's probably wants to see for himself, right? He's like, because they know that she's different. They know this, they have their suspicions on things, or maybe they don't know, right? Because again, there's just these guys, their whole life they know is being a soldier. So he's probably sitting down, really watching what she's doing. And maybe next episode, we'll see him talking to the others saying, look, yeah, there is something definitely different with Omega. And maybe we should start looking into, maybe they'll start trying to figure out what's going on with her. But right now, they're kind of trapped in this whole do a job for Sid, do a job for Sid, do a job for Sid, eat your after mission treat and stuff.
I can see coming up pretty quick in the future here that they're going to use her. They're going to need to use her to get out of a tight spot. I think that this episode set that up really, really big, that if she's great in strategy, there's going to be a big issue coming up soon where she's going to have to come with some strategic plan to get out or something.
Yeah.
Sure. And as you guys are pointing out too, which I didn't think of as much, maybe that same situation, they put her in a bind with what's her face, with Sid. It could be a conflicting. They could make conflict in there where she's got to choose like one or the other if Sid keeps kind of dragging her towards her influence.
And Sid could maybe think that she's worth more money to Sid if she does something with her, like gets rid of her or sells her off to somebody. Who knows, right? Money talks for Sid, right? So I think she would turn her back on them for money any day, especially if she can make more money, something else than what they can bring in.
There's a really interesting thing. Adam, who isn't here this week with us, did a review of the episode. You can check that out at StarWarsReporter.com. One of the focuses he said in his review, he's got a section called Trust. He thought that the episode, trust was a key theme of the episode, as the Bad Batch struggled to trust the Senator's droid, who has hired them for the mission. They struggled to trust Sid, who was looking after Omega, and they also struggled to trust the Separatist Senator, who was aiding them in their escape. We also get more indication of Omega's value place on the team, right? As Hunter forgets Omega is not with the squad and makes plans assuming that she's with them. So, that Hunter has a level of trust for Omega, which he may not have realized. So that's a good point here, right? And that seems to be like Sid's always the I don't trust anyways, but that seemed to be a major theme of the episode.
I didn't catch that. That's really interesting. I mean, as far as Hunter was going to rely on Omega for something during the episode. That's an interesting point. I missed that when I did my watching.
Right. So yeah, and he's got some good points about what is next, right? Like some observations that he had, and just like we were talking about, he had an observation of an open-minded Bad Batch, with the Bad Batch's core beliefs being continuously challenged in the wake of the Empire. With this and with their interaction with the former Separatists, will this lead to the soldiers having a more open mind about former enemies? I think we just talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see more with this senator. He was thinking maybe they might be hired to help liberate Raxus. I don't know. That seems like a lot.
Well, actually, if you look, Jeremy has brought up an interesting point too. Like you talk about doing missions for Sid. They kept doing missions for Sid because they owed her money, but technically now they don't owe Sid money, right? So that could be another story arc too. We're changing now, so they don't have to do these errands for Sid because And at the same time, Jeremy also mentioned too that if you look at the last couple comments, proving that she has worth to the team, because what she did got the team out of debt to Sid.
Right. And is Sid gonna let that let that go, right? Is
the dynamic of Sid and the group now.
Exactly right. Because now situation now the Bad Batch don't need need Sid's work so much. Now Sid's gonna be the Bad Batch has been doing really good for business for her. Is that gonna change their relationship too? Possibility.
Or is this when she turns them in?
Or when she turns them in because there's a big bounty on their head because the Empire's after her. But like she collects bounties and she doesn't seem to worry who it is, right? So
because it's all about business, right?
For her, she doesn't have a lot of friends, really, right?
Well, she's got that Ithorian and the other one that hang out in her bar all day. I think I made a note. I said, "Does the Ithorian ever go home?"
Yeah, he is there all the time. That's
Authority. Is that the Hammerhead Authorian? That's who the Hammerhead is?
Yep, that's satisfy us Hammerhead fans, though.
Hammerhead.
I'm a big Hammerhead fan. I want to see a Hammerhead character in The Mandalorian. But do you notice the talk? I never saw mouth. It has like mouth way down here. I never noticed that before.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
My translator.
First time I noticed it. I saw a mouth moving down below in this episode. I just never seen a mouth move. That's kind of cool.
So let's transition over to the next bit of news that came out that Disney's released more information on, and that is Star Wars Visions.
Ooh.
As we got more information, I'm really interested in, and we posted the press release from Disney, and here it is here. It was announced at the Expo Light, and announced the names of 7 Japanese anime studios, bringing their unique talent and perspective to Star Wars Visions, a collection of animated short films that Lucasfilm will stream exclusively on Disney Plus and offer fans an exciting special look. The anime studios revealed were, here's a list here. So they're using a bunch of Japanese anime studios, so they're getting really serious about it. We get a first look into the Star Wars Vision. So there's a short, there's a video I can't play here, but they also give a list of the films. So the short films here, the studio, and then the titles. So more information will be coming out about that. And let me tell you, for the avatar that I was using for this, I mean, that is beautiful. This is coming a screenshot from the trailer.
That is awesome.
That is so beautiful. And it's kind of giving me, here's some of the pictures here, right? So it's going to be an anthology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
right. Kind of like the Animatrix, I think, is how it's going to run. So you're going to get that perspective from these anime studios, which is going to be really cool. There's even on Netflix, there's a Batman one. It's like it's supposed to be Batman in the time of the Shoguns. So he's like a samurai Batman. Really cool. So different kind of styles.
So this might get my kids to watch Star Wars again because they love anime.
Yeah, check this out. Boba Fett, of course. You're gonna throw Boba Fett in there.
Look at that.
Isn't that awesome? And of course, in this whole style here, it's just awesome, right?
Oh, man.
Now, this is something that's been I think a long time coming. Like, I've watched anime off and on. I'm not those people out there, you guys, more into it, but I've always been fascinated by it. I've always thought, especially since the time of the prequels, I always thought the prequels would have been amazing if somebody had did anime version of even them. Star Wars, I think of everything that's out there, and there's a ton out there. There's all kinds of stuff. There's great horror stuff, and as you said, people done like Batman and Samurai and everything. Star Wars is perfect for that, and I love that, you know, they're using Japanese creators, you know, and just here. This I'm actually really excited for. I hope it's more. I'm not sure if it's just going to be a series of like shorts or whatever. I hope we get some real stuff. I hope we get some fairly lengthy good stuff. Maybe they're testing the waters with this. I'm not sure, but Star Wars is perfect.
Maybe if the next series could be all anime. Yeah.
My guess is it's going to be similar to a probably Netflix series. Love something robots. What's it called? Love Death Robot or Death Love Robots.
Yes.
Have you guys seen it? If you haven't seen that, you guys should watch that. It's fantastic.
It's really good.
So I'm envisioning it's probably going to be like that, but again, we won't know until it comes out. Like short 10, like those episodes range from like 5 to like 12 minutes episodes, right? 15-minute episodes. So there's no time limit on them. So I imagine this would be a similar type thing. Even like the Animatrix that you're talking about.
Animatrix, yeah.
All of them were kind of random times. And so, which the Animatrix was awesome, by the way. I don't know if everybody saw it. It's fantastic.
Right. Well, if you look at the history of anime, especially in recent times, anime and manga is the only thing in comics right now making any money. I mean, what sells in a month for anime and manga is more than DC and Marvel combined. Right. Yeah. So Marvel and DC are basically on the brink of falling apart. And in recent times, anime is absolutely killing. So of course, then you have all the companies saying, we got to, even Marvel and DC are like, we got to look into this whole anime thing. And it's to the point where I think it's Netflix is trying, they are starting to have a lot of their own produced
anime,
but they're also setting up studios, and they're trying to lure creators from Japan, from these studios, to start up their own. And their goal is to kind of be the most dominant anime studio in the world, which is pretty crazy considering it's pretty much a huge culture over there, right, in Japan and elsewhere. And I don't know how they're going to do it. I really hope they don't do it. I hope anime, it's not for everyone. And I don't like all of it, but I just got finished watching the Attack on Titan series with my oldest daughter. So 4 seasons of that. And, it's crazy. It's different. but it's really good. And there's I think the other series I recently watched with my daughter on Funimation, so we subscribed to the channel, and it was this Skate the Infinity. Simple show about two kids skateboarding. It's funny because the one kid, his mother's Japanese and the father was Canadian, so he grew up in BC and snowboarding. So the father dies, so the mother's like, well, let's move back home to Okinawa. And it's so funny because of this, some of the stereotypes, because he's from Canada, right? So this one scene where they're going to a beach and he's looking at the ocean. He's like, oh my God. And they're like, what's with him? And he's like, oh, he's seen the water. And my daughter turns to me and says, I guess it's because it's always snow and ice here, right? And I just thought it was kind of funny. So his nickname is Snow. And it's not because of what we think. It's because he was snowboarding, because that's what everyone does in Canada,
Right.
since he was 5 or something. So now he's using a skateboard, and he's like a phenom. He's like amazing. So they're like, oh, he used to be a snowboarder, so they call him Snow. And it's a really simple, weird at times show. And I think it's going to really help. And I hope that maybe this is the tester and it works. And then the next full series that Disney or Lucasfilm does with a Star Wars series is anime.
Oh, it all depends on how well it gets viewed, right? So who knows, right? Like, sky's the limit. I know you're talking about anime. Like my kids, they watch tons of anime. My son collects manga, comics. Like
Yeah.
I collect comics, the Batmans, the
Right.
Spider-Mans, but he's full tilt berserk. He's been doing Akira, like novels and novels of it, right? So for some reason it catches his attention. I can't get him to read Spider-Man or Hulk or Batman, but he'll read that stuff no problem.
They're really good. Like Death Note. My daughter, I never really heard about it. She's wants to come down on the big TV and watch it. And Death Note, really interesting.
Yeah,
story.
I like that one. Yeah,
And
I like that one.
The crazy little demon that only he can see. It's hilarious. It's weird and spooky and
all those things.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a singular tone to a lot of it that's actually really intense, and it can almost be kind of crazy, weird, and silly in one, but at the same time, very dark and very, very serious. I'm excited for this because they, even what I was talking about, I'm a sucker for like the big scale and the epic and the lightsaber duels. I mean, with meaning, of course, I want story, of course, but I do love the, like we all do, the visuals, the universe of Star Wars. And with something like this, with anime, there's just no, there's no limits. There's no limits. And also too, getting from, the Japanese, from their perspective with the anime and, with the samurai influence and with the Jedi, which is of course where a lot of the stuff was rooted from Lucas in the very beginning. So
Right.
I'm excited for to see those just core values of Star Wars, or those style of stories that Lucas drew from the very beginning, the mythological sides and the samurai and things.
Well, this
like
definitely is an
yeah,
influence.
there you go, and that definitely captures that feel. Right. So just visually and drama wise, it's got the potential to be really, really striking. I thought they might have gone this route back with the which we talked about. They just put back up the original Clone Wars, that just those 2 seasons they did.
Right.
And there's almost no dialogue, and it's not really anime, but it kind of borrows from the style.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
And the tone of it. And it's actually really cool. I think it's a hidden gem. Like a lot of people haven't even seen those original Clone War cartoons. They're very cool. They're very entertaining.
They are, absolutely. And I'm excited to see what they do with the animation style and how they bring it to the Star Wars universe. It'll be very interesting to see how they pull it off. And because, anime definitely has a different look to it, where the eyes go big sometimes, although it doesn't look like it's going to be that kind of cartoonish sort of thing. But again, the epic style of how things look so fast and explosive and energy. They always really show energy really well in anime. So it'd be really interesting to see how it translates well. Like you look at, you mentioned Attack on Titans, right, Steve? Like
Yeah.
that kind of style approach. Again, that doesn't get crazy animation where eyes get really super big and they're screaming, right, with the sweat coming down, the sweat bubble.
Yeah.
Like it's done more seriously,
That stuff.
a serious tone. But again, it would be really neat to see that style come to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, I mean, there's things in there that could have that kooky, funny style. Like I know what you mean. Like the nose bubbles, which means daughter's
exactly.
explaining all this to me. Like it means they're tired and the sweat and stuff, and that could be done with like we had talked about the old Ewoks animation from 80, 84, 85, and that's something that they could save for like an Ewok show or something like that. But
yes, absolutely.
I just think that all the studios here in North America are jumping on the bandwagon, and I hope they don't screw it up like the bandwagon, right? Like, oh, what this on me thing is doing well. Well, get me some of that, and we're gonna put a whole bunch of money into it. You know what I mean? Like, I hope it seems like they're taking it serious because they aren't doing it themselves. They've put it on to these studios.
No, what's interesting? When Star Wars first came out in 1977, everything had to be Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now here's the interesting. Now anime is doing so well. So now Star Wars is trying to implement something that's also successful. So it's kind of interesting how it just keeps rolling around. Like when it's something like let's look back in the 80s when slasher movies made it big. Everything had to be a slasher movie, right? So like there's always some kind of circle. Then what's it called? The Saw movies became big. So then torture porn movies became big, right? So there's always some kind of cycle that everybody's trying to, oh, this is hot. Let's jump on that bandwagon. So hopefully, people jumping onto the anime bandwagon doesn't ruin the anime.
Right. And I think they're having a hard time. I think they're having a hard time selling to, say, the Asian market Star Wars. I don't think it's as big.
Makes sense.
And I think that if they're successful with this and they do it right and it's not insulting, like as in it's like this isn't anime just because it sort of looks that way. If they do it right, and I think they will, this could be that opening that they're looking for, right? Because without having to, they just seem to be lately doing a lot of wrong things to try to hit that market, and maybe this is the right thing. Well,
the sequel trilogy didn't help them. Like Marvel movies are really big in Asia, right? Again, it comes down to what Jason was saying earlier. Storytelling is so important, right? Storytelling is huge. You don't have the story, like we can have all the explosions and lightsaber fights and blaster fights we want. If there's no story to help carry that along, people lose interest into it, right? So,
well, you could see the enthusiasm too, and just that short clip on Visions, which was really cool. There was I thought I saw some genuine enthusiasm from those guys from the Japanese. To me, it was almost okay, like this is a chance. Like you could see, and then some of the things that they said, that they were taking it seriously and taking it as an opportunity to do it right. So, it's encouraging, but. That's another thing we could, maybe be kind of critical, or Disney we've talked about, where they're sort of throwing darts to see what sticks at the board. And even with the shows, like they announced, this announcement of like 800 shows at once. To me, it was like, oh, well, they're going to see what works, and maybe that's wrong. Maybe it'll all work fine. But yeah, I mean, as you said, Todd, that's a really interesting point too. Like, Star Wars trailblazed when it came out, and it's kind of interesting that so many things came out of it and other things. But now they're at a point where Star Wars is feeling it out. Like, okay, they were going to do all the solo, well, literally they did the solo movie, but the solo movies, and they kind of backed off of that, unfortunately, I think. I think that's a mistake, actually, that they backed off the solo movies, but maybe we're getting back to that with the Rogue Squadron movie coming up. But they're throwing darts at the board, But with this, they're taking a shot, and let's see what happens.
I'm going to blame Last Jedi for Solo's bad performance. I'm saying it right here. I'm sorry. Last Jedi was terrible. Fans didn't like it, and I think that made Solo suffer afterwards.
It contributed, but I'll tell you what, I honestly think, and when I heard the announcement, now again, as a fan who's like open to whatever what they want to do, I just had the feeling, as much as people love Han Solo, I thought, I don't know that people want an origin movie of him.
That's a good point.
I didn't really. Now the movie was cool. We loved it, right? We had a lot of fun watching it. No, it was a good movie.
But it's not what people are asking for. Yeah.
I just feel like there was something I don't know. I wasn't that surprised. I'm like, this may not be one that's really going to hit with everybody, even though it was a pretty cool movie for sure. But I don't know. I'm not surprised.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense, Jason.
Jeremy says Solo was a great movie, a great heist flick.
Yeah,
no,
definitely. It was, but I don't even mean like quality. I'm not even saying like, oh, it wasn't good or anything. Everybody loves Solo, and the movie was good, but there's an appeal to certain characters. Did a lot of, now I'm not talking like us hardcore fans. Did a general fan need to go back on the origin of Han Solo? No. I think really ultimately he's like the greatest sidekick in a way as a character. He's more than that, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, you bring up a really valid point. I think you're right. And I think, of course, not being Harrison Ford, a lot of people, that rubbed people wrong, right? That's not Harrison Ford, or it doesn't look anything like Harrison Ford. That probably rubbed them the wrong way too. But yes.
Right.
Very valid point, Jason.
For sure. I have actually got the video for the preview for Visions here. Do you guys want me to hang on a second?
I haven't seen it yet, so I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully the sound works here.
Star Wars Visions is going to be an exciting anime anthology series coming to Disney Plus in September. Japanese animation inspired a lot of the people at Lucasfilm over the years. We loved the idea of seeing Star Wars expressed in that way.
Each one of these studios that we approached, we found hardcore Star Wars fans. They all had a story they wanted to tell.
初めてスター・ウォーズの企画って言ったらもうあれなんかこのような夢のようなことができるのかなっていうふうにはちょっと思いましたね。
いやもうついに来たなと。もう待ってました。その時の提案の内容がこれスター・ウォーズでこれやっていいのかっていうなんか面白いものだったんで。
We were looking for something from the heart and soul of the individual creators. They are their visions through the lens of Star Wars.
There are so many genres at play. Big and bold, romantic and sweeping, funny, comedic.
で、この作品独自の、スタイルとしては、ロックオペラということで
日本の山岳文化みたいなことをしっかり描けたらな。
万国教の双子がどう生まれてこれがどうなるのかというのが基本的な設定ですね。
ライトセーバーって子供の夢が詰まったガジェットだと思うんですよね。でそれをさらに今回僕はここもちょっと和のテイストみたいなものを
We tried to have some retro vintage feeling. We couldn't skip the Astro Boy influence. People love Astro Boy.
どちらかといえば自分は最初象徴的な意味を、さっき言ったように、人間の姿をしてない主人公にしたかった。
スターズみたいな時代劇を作りたいマスターとパダワンが未知の敵みたいなのに遭遇するっていうお話ですね。本当に最後はスター・ウォーズあれば、本望だったなとは思います。
We feel so fortunate to be working with these filmmakers. There are so many opportunities to reflect Japanese storytelling in a Star Wars universe.
Star Wars Visions is completely different than everything else in Star Wars storytelling. Audiences will fall in love with it.
This September. That's not too far away.
Yeah, that's right. What do you guys think? This looks so good.
So see, again, it goes back to what we talked weeks and weeks before about how I love how Disney Plus is rolling out things. When it comes to Marvel, one series ends, they give you a couple of weeks break, and they start a new series. It looks like Star Wars doing the same thing, right? Because the Mandalorian ended, wait a couple of weeks, Bad Batch. It sounds like it's waiting to September. This, Bad Batch is going to go close to that, and then this will start up. So nice rollout.
Yeah, you could see the enthusiasm, man. Like from the one guy was like, finally, like you could tell they're chomping at the bit to be able to do that. There was some killer stories. The Padawan and Master or whatever going after an unknown enemy. The Dark Side twins. The guy said there was the ninth Jedi, I think it was called. Like there's really some cool potential. Some of that stuff definitely up my alley there.
The one I love the most is the black and white sketches sort of thing. I had all the really cool looking. You showed it earlier too, Steve. The black and white one. That just looks so good. It looks like that. Or look at that. That's amazing. So if the characters animate look like that, look at the stormtroopers, eh? Like that is so sweet.
Yeah,
it is really awesome. And like I said, scenes like this, it's the color. I see color sometimes not so great. So this is just so appealing. It's actually on my desktop, like on everything that I can get right now. It's so beautiful, right?
Yeah,
so
cool.
it's it can be good, right? Like, and what really got me excited too is so many of the creators and the studio people. It's like, I don't know what this sounds like, but speaking in Japanese and not in English kind of gave it to me of like, oh, authentic, yay.
Yeah.
So
actually, one person said that he's happy Star Wars is going to be his last thing. You guys
that was interesting. An older fella, the last stuff that he directed. Yeah,
it's going to be Star Wars. So that's kind of cool.
What a way to go out with a blaster. All right, guys. So exciting stuff that's coming up. I hope we get more. I hope they start releasing little shorts for each of the stories for that, or like some really nice images that they'll send out in their press packages. I really hope that happens. But sure. Maybe next week we can do our show and tell.
I'll prepare.
Excellent. And Jason's lived, so the
storm
hasn't gotten him.
Yes, the storm hasn't.
Yay, Jason!
There's still some wind and rain going on, but it's enough. It's a drizzle for us here in Florida. It's nothing, man.
It'd be terrible, but our view of the spike if a tree came through his window with rain and stuff like that, right?
It would be.
I don't want that to happen to you, but our ratings could go up and our viewership.
I'm all for something spectacular happening.
Come on, Jason, if you really cared.
Yeah.
If you really cared. I said in the chat offline to these guys, I was like, gee, Todd, all we have to worry about up here is polar bears and moose or something.
I said the roof's melting off our igloos, so we have no roof in the summertime. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad, but we get used to it. Man, it was today, it was 37 degrees Celsius.
That doesn't mean anything to most of your viewers. It's almost 100 degrees, he's saying.
Yeah. And
it's warm. For sure.
And your area, Todd, got, what was it last week, like 49.9 degrees?
It was scorching hot. It was scorching hot. It was the Vancouver Island set a record, and Nanaimo was 0.2 away from setting a record. It was 40.4 degrees, which is really warm.
That's insane. That's well over 100 degrees, right?
Yeah, it was smoking hot. It was just disgustingly.
And the humidity is like 80%. It's nuts.
That's you Ontario folk. Ontario has this humidity bad.
Canada is hotter than Florida lately.
This is not right, man.
What? Doesn't make sense, does it, Jason?
The end is nigh.
Yeah. Well, it's causing lots of problems. Like, on Vancouver Island, there's lots of mountains. And so because it's hot, the snow's melting faster than it usually does, which is causing a lot of flooding. Not to mention a lot of fires. You'd think the flooding would wash the fires out, but no, the fires don't happen when the flooding's happening, unfortunately.
Of course.
Yeah. A lot of bad stuff happening in BC. But
all right, guys. So I'll remind everyone, too, make sure that you follow us on social media.
Yes.
And hopefully we will see everyone here next week. So lots more Star Wars to talk about.
Yes.
So good night, everyone.
See you guys.
Good to see you guys.